Hello everybody and welcome to today's live. It is wonderful to have you all here on Facebook, being able to support any of your questions that you might have for me as a registered midwife. So as you're coming in, I know many of you are used to the drill, but if it is your first time here watching on our BirthBeat page, hello and welcome. If you are newly pregnant, congratulations, that is super exciting news. If you've been with us for a while and you have a little baby already, that is fabulous. And please, you know that I love hearing from you, knowing who's watching. I'm just here in our little studio all set up in Tamworth, New South Wales. I love knowing who's watching and who I'm helping and supporting. I've got Junior here with me today, so I use Junior to show any demonstrations or answer any questions that you might have around birth positioning or how to get your baby into the best position. I use my pelvis and Junior. We also sometimes go into some baby and child first aid. I actually put a shout out on Instagram this morning just to see if you'd be interested in hearing or knowing a little bit more around how to manage some basic first aid with your baby. I'm not going to be teaching you anything too detailed. It would be about how to respond in an emergency. So that's what we do. Well, that's what I do here at BirthBeat. So if you're interested in any of our courses, we teach online childbirth education and online baby and child first aid. And we launched a couple of months ago our BirthBeat Sleep and Settle program, which has just been going so well. I cannot believe how many mums are out there really struggling, mums and dads, you know, whole families really struggling with getting on top of the sleep and just not being in a position where they feel comfortable to ask for help. So I love that I'm able to support all of those parents now. It is hugely exciting. Hello Georgie, lovely to say good morning from the Sumpters. I have to say, please forgive me, I missed your message from Kath and I just messaged back this morning. And again, this is what we do with the BirthBeat program. We offer support as well when you're wanting those questions answered that you just can't get a good evidence-based answer elsewhere. So if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. You can put them in the comments here and just let me know what I can help and support you with. We have a stack of questions that have already come through from my Instagram stories this morning. So I do jump straight into answering those. And as you have questions, please feel free to pop them here in the comment box. Tag any mums that need to know about this page. Help us to support as many parents as we can. That is what we absolutely love doing. That is what I love doing, is just helping new parents, really, because it's a pretty overwhelming time. So hello and good morning, Georgie. Please let me know where you're watching from, how old Bubba is, or possibly how many weeks pregnant you are. The first question, let's get into it, is, hey E. I know in the Instagram stories it's hard because you can't put too many characters. So I love hearing how you all, we've got some pretty crazy abbreviations going on here. Hey E, is it from 6 months Bub can have cool boiled water? Yes, and I am conscious that people watch this all over the world now. So mainly our demographic is in Australia, but I think it's just really important that we highlight how lucky we are that we actually have clean drinking water out of the tap. There's a lot of conflicting evidence around this because when I first trained as a registered midwife, we washed dummies and bottles and everything. It always was in boiled water. We always sterilized. And now we actually just are happy to run with warm soapy water, which is really interesting. And it just actually is a reflection that we have clean running water. So from 6 months of age, some people actually say that you can just be giving your baby tap water. I do recommend filtered if possible. So if you're able to put it through a filter, but by all means, 6 months is the time that you can start introducing water. What I also find is a lot of new parents say, you know, oh, we gave it to them in a sippy cup, and they're just not that interested. It takes time for your baby to learn how to use the sippy cup, the motion. They'll probably get really wet. They'll probably spit and cough up and things like that. But I just say, like, let them play with the sippy cup. Let them use it as a toy. Let them explore. And they're all developmentally learning as you go. So it's super important that don't stress or feel like they're not working it out. It takes time, but just start offering cool boiled water, or even just filtered water, depending on the quality of the water of where you're living, will be absolutely fine. So yes, start introducing that at 6 months, particularly in the summer seasons. For those who are opposite to Australia, I know we're going into our winter, particularly when bubs are warm and the weather is hot and they're maybe drinking less at the breast. It is really important that we're keeping them really well hydrated. So Georgie has said, I have tried different ways to get Archie to go back to breastfeeding. He screams the house down and just wants bottles. That can be really challenging. So what has happened with Georgie as well is her little baby was having a bit of breast refusal. So when sometimes the baby goes to the breast and will just be arching and pulling back off, having big cries, really common. We see it often, particularly in newborns. They will go through stages of doing this. It's super tough for mums, super tough for parents generally to be managing that. And I often say just trying different positions. So changing different positions of how you're feeding the baby. You might be trying a football hold. If you're normally doing a football hold, you might go to a classic hold. Lying down and side lying feeding. So lying down on the bed and feeding like this. I even say sometimes jumping in the bath and feeding bub in the bath. Really just mixing up the different ways and keeping bub interested can be a really good way to get through that breast refusal. The challenge once we start introducing bottles is it's sometimes easier for them to have a bottle. So Georgie, it is one of those situations where I think it's about just trying to relax, lots and lots of skin to skin. So with bub now, almost like resetting back to those newborn days when you were first birthed Bubba, and lots of skin to skin, lots of time with bub just in a nappy on your bare chest, and kind of going back to reteaching the breastfeeding. And I know it's a hugely challenging time, but it really will be worth it if you want to stick with the breastfeeding. Also just try not offering the bottle, because again, it can be sometimes just a little bit easier for them. So try those little tips and tricks and see if that helps. And again, sometimes with the crying, it can just be looking at his tide cues and his tide signs. He may just be getting over tide, so just be conscious of that as well. Jamie Lee. Hi Ed, so confused. When is best to start solids? Some say 4 months, but baby clinic nurse says 6 months. Yes, Jamie, I was actually talking to one of my mums that I was doing a sleep consult with the other day around exactly this. And like all things with parenting, labor, birth, sleep, you're going to get a variety of opinions. So it's about actually saying, well, what works for you and your family and your baby? Some clear indications, so there's no right or wrong. It's a spectrum. You can really start from 4 months. We really don't recommend any earlier than 4 months. And some babies still at 6 months just aren't interested. And you can't force this on the baby. The spectrum is around 6 months, but some people are one end of the spectrum and some babies are up the other end. So what I would recommend is actually looking at your baby and saying, do I feel like my baby is interested in feeding? And when I say interested, if you're sitting here and you're having something to eat, and you're eating, is bub looking up at you? Is bub reaching towards you? Is bub grabbing at your food? That's a really good sign. Do a couple of little tests, Jamie. Put some food on a spoon and offer it to your baby. And can your baby open their mouth? Do they show interest in taking the food? These are kind of some signs that bub is interested in starting solids. Even if you do this for a couple of days, see what their interest is like, and they go, no, there's no interest, that's fine. Just stop for a few weeks and then try this again. It's kind of like, don't stress too much about it. I was telling a friend, I was actually just talking to a friend at the coffee shop this morning about this. There's some really good resources as well out there on social media. I particularly like boob to food. So that is by a registered nurse and a registered midwife who is local in our district. Luca, check her out on Instagram. She just offers really good, sort of easy to follow advice around how to do this and how and when to introduce solids. So A, is your baby interested? B, is your baby able to sit up in a high chair or a bumbo or something like that? If Bub's got no tone, isn't able to sit up, it's too early to be introducing solids. So tone, and if the baby's able to developmentally sit up and interested in food and you're ready to start, that's the right time, Jamie. It's not actually about a specific age. There's lots more that plays into that. I hope that's helpful for a lot of you, because I think a lot of you are probably at the stage that you're starting to introduce solids, or you've got babies who are really interested in food and you're wondering if now is the time. However, I will just say, before any of you start to introduce solids, and actually I believe all parents should know what to do, please make sure that you come and look at our baby and child first aid course. It is super affordable. You've got access for 12 months. You can watch and rewatch as many times as you like, but I teach you exactly what to do if your baby or toddler chokes. Super important. We see it all the time coming into the emergency department. My friend who helped me write the first aid course is also a paramedic, and he said they see it all the time. But parents need to know how and when to respond. So please, pretty please, make sure that you have done the online childbirth education course so that you know if Bub is going to choke or if Bub is gagging, knowing the difference and knowing when to intervene. Super important that everybody does that before they start introducing solids. It's just a 3-hour course as well. Natasha, hi Ed, watching from the Hunter Valley, 38+1. Oh, yay, so exciting. I love, and make sure when you have your babies, you send me a message and let me know. We have a Monday meeting in the office, Monday morning meeting every week in the office, and how we now start that meeting is sharing a birth beat birth story. And it just, like, we've only got a little team here in Tamworth, but I say we're small but mighty. And it just helps us all remind ourselves and focus on why we're doing this, why we're all working so hard, is because we want to serve women and their families. We want to make sure that support people and dads know what to do in the birth space. So we start the day with reading those stories and birth stories that we hear from all around Australia, and now even further afield. So it is absolutely my happy place. So please make sure you send me a little story and a photo when your bubbas arrive. Natasha says, so she's 38+1. She said, I'm getting pretty consistent contractions. Yesterday lasted 12 hours, lasting about 10 to 15 seconds and like 30 to 45 minutes apart. But then all of a sudden it stopped. It was more than Braxton Hicks though. Is this a sign baby is coming really soon? Also, lightning crutch is the worst. Constant. Is this a sign? Like, does it have a purpose? Oh, yeah, lightning crutch just sucks. Or is it just an annoying side effect of pregnancy? Look, lightning crutch is actually essentially an annoying side effect. For all of you that have access to our online program, go into our first module where we've got our prenatal yoga and our stretching. So a lot of the stretching that, and I don't teach it, I'm by no means an expert in that space. We've got an amazing prenatal yoga specialist, Deb, who takes you through stretches to try and relieve, because there's so much pressure and stretching and different weight on your pelvis to try and relieve. Essentially, lightning crutches are pulling at the ligaments, and it can be, my nose always gets itchy when I jump on here, and it can be really intense. So go and practice those stretches. Anyone who's earlier in pregnancy, start practicing them early again so that you're not experiencing lightning crutch. And it might be that you need to see a women's health physio if those stretches don't help relieve the pain. Natasha, for you, I would be, because you're 38+1, getting onto all fours and just doing some nice, easy rocks down on all fours. Let me just see if I can, here, come down with me, everybody, just so that I can show Natasha exactly what I mean. I don't know if this is going to work. So getting onto all fours and just opening up the hip space and giving it a little bit of a rock from side to side. Natasha, I want you to try that. All of the pregnant mamas who are finding discomfort, getting down onto all fours will make the world of difference for you for comfort, particularly at the later stages. In terms of your stages of labor, this is a good reminder to me actually that I should probably repost the stages of labor poster. You are what we call early stages of labor. So there's 3 stages of labor, first, second, and third, and the first stage of labor is broken down into 3 sections, being early, established, and transition. You're in early stages, and the problem, particularly for first-time mums, is you're really excited about meeting this baby. You're starting to feel uncomfortable. It's been a long time coming, and then you get a couple of contractions, and you're like, cool, awesome, and you stay awake, and you start using all the tips and tricks that I've taught you in our course. However, you end up just exhausted. So the best thing actually for you to be doing is just trying your best to ignore those contractions. If everything is well with you and Bub and there's no recommendation that you need to be coming into hospital early for any reason, I actually say ignore it until you can't. Just try and keep yourself distracted. It does sound like it's more intense than Braxton Hicks, but early labor can go on for days, even weeks. And what we find happens is the woman just gets totally exhausted. So Natasha, frequent rest, nice long warm showers, getting a heat pack and heating that up and placing it where you're feeling your discomfort, regular Panadol, lots of movement, all those things, and then just keeping yourself distracted, not being too focused on those contractions, and prepare yourself that this could go on for days, if not weeks. So early stages of labor are really hard because they're really hard to manage. So rest, it's no indication exactly when you're going into labor because it can go on for days, if not weeks. So just actually try and change your mindset about ignoring it until you can't ignore it. I hope that is helpful. Oh, Diana just said, any opinion on the vaccine for pregos? I do mean the COVID vaccine, I'm assuming, Diana. And again, I just work off the latest recommendations from the World Health Organization and from RANZCOG and from the Australian College of Midwives. And I think we just need to keeping ourselves updated. However, if you're referring to the flu vaccine, now is the time for you all to be going and having your flu shots. And in Australia, as a pregnant woman, you actually get that for free, which I think is super duper cool. Does that help, Diana? Are you talking about the COVID, or your flu shots? If anyone's wanting some of those exercises, like how to get Bub into your optimal birth position, how to make it more comfortable in the early stages of your labor, in your pregnancy, or in the later stages of your pregnancy, just send me a DM here on Facebook and I will be able to send you a free video that you should all be starting to do. Also, if any of you are starting solids, or if you're worried about your baby's choking or gagging or knowing what to do, if you don't feel 100% confident about what to do, send me a DM. And I've got a little downloadable, here it is. I've got a little downloadable choking guide that you can print off and stick on the fridge about how to assess severity, how to know in terms of when to intervene and when to not intervene. So the difference between if it's an effective cough or a non-effective cough, and if your baby is still conscious, you need to do the 5 back blows and 5 chest thrusts, calling triple O. If your baby is unconscious, you actually need to go straight to CPR. So it's really important that you know this little ditty. So just send me a DM on Facebook and I will send that one to you in your inbox as well. There's just an area where you can pop in your email address and I will send that to you. All right, team. My gosh, it just goes so quickly. Natasha said, thank you, thank you. So Natasha, your advice, ignore it till you can't, then let me know when that beautiful baby arrives. Team, I am now jumping onto our closed portal where everyone who's in our online program gets to have Q&A time with me. So I'm jumping into that now. If you're interested in any of our courses, come and check them out at birthbeat.com. If you want the free video on how to get Bub into the best birth position so that you feel more comfortable during pregnancy, send me a DM, or if you want the choking guide, send me a DM as well. And I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.